We're good.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's John and Nico here, bringing you a little 2-point version action on this dreary Monday. But hopefully, we can brighten it up for you a little bit and give you a little recap of our favorite games from the weekend, favorite players, and a little Monday Night Football preview. And then this week, we were thinking at the end, if we have some time, we'll throw in a little baseball talk in there as we get closer to the playoffs.
To be little less bias than usual, just sticking with football.
Yeah, we usually just stick with football, but we know football. But baseball, it's heating up. It's getting exciting. Yankees and Mets, definitely some talk there. Definitely some things we need to cover. We're passionately talking about today. So I'm excited to get into it. You want me to get it started with my favorite game?
Yeah, start off your favorite game of the week, and then we'll flip to mine.
Okay, got it. All right, sounds good. My favorite game of the week was Broncos versus Raiders. This was in Vegas at the new Allegiant Stadium. Raiders won over the Broncos 32-23. It was the Raiders' first win with their new head coach, Josh McDaniels. Came over from the Patriots. He was a Belichick guy for a long time. Russell Wilson finally saw Russ cooking a little bit. Russ was in the kitchen, I would say, slightly cooking a little bit. I know there's still some to be desired from Russ, especially when you lose by 9 points. 2-2 now on the season. Some bad news today for the Broncos. Javonte Williams is out with an ACL injury.
I think that Russ. I saw today they were comparing different stats between Russ and Geno, who's his replacement in Seattle, and Geno's outscoring him in yardages, completion percent. I think it's like 77 to 67% completion rate, touchdowns, interceptions, everything. Geno's leading. Do you think it's Russ and who he has? Because he does have weapons like Jerry Jeudy, but and Cortland Sutton, but is it weapons? Is it him? Or is it play call?
There's always a period of transition with a new coach, a new system. It's a first-year head coach in Denver as well. We got to remember that. First-year head coach. Pete Carroll has been around for a long time in Seattle. He has a Super Bowl win, right? Geno's been he's a vet. He knows his way around the NFL. But Russell Wilson's a guy, $235 million contract. You're expecting more from this guy, Russell Wilson. That's what the money, when you get that kind of money, it's like you don't get this time to transition. You're expected to be a superstar, come through for the team, and get these wins. And they couldn't yesterday against an 0-3 Raiders team. They fell to them.
Yeah, I agree, but I also have like a sort of like thought process where if you look at their play calling and Nathaniel Hackett, who's their coach, it's abysmal.
That's fan of the play calling. Okay,
terrible. And I mean, week 1 we saw with his clock management having to kick like a 60-yard field goal, whatever it is, rather than going for the first down and trying to make it because they did have that opportunity and they just didn't take it. And seeing him after he like knew it was a mistake, but he keeps on making those mistakes. So maybe like the coach isn't the right person for the job, per se. But I can agree that obviously Javonte Williams going down is going to be very hard, but I didn't see this team going anywhere anytime soon.
Russell Wilson's final stat line, he went 17-25, 237 yards and 2 touchdowns. Javonte Williams, 10 carries, only 28 yards. In addition, Russ was also the leading rusher for the Broncos. He had 4 carries for 29 yards.
How early in the game did Javonte go down? Do you know that?
I'm not 100% sure. I was watching the highlights again, and it looked like he played at least the whole first half. But adding on to that, Melvin Gordon, that'll leave Melvin Gordon and Mike Boone taking over running back duties moving forward. Melvin Gordon right now has a fumbling problem. 3 fumbles in 4 games. He lost a fumble yesterday that went for a touchdown for the Raiders, and that was the difference in this game. It was a 9-point game, so not quite a 1 touchdown difference, but that defensive turnover, that kind of gave some momentum to the Raiders, and that was, I think, ultimately the deciding factor in this game. To be honest with you, I picked this game because the teams matched up really well.
Yeah, they're both struggling teams, obviously, and like I think that we'll talk about it in the fantasy, all the fantasy stuff. But I was a big fan of the Raiders coming in today, 0-3, and they finally got their first win, which I think they deserve more of because it's a stacked roster.
Really, yeah, they made the playoffs last year.
They made the playoffs and they got better
with all the teams with new head coaches. I don't think anyone was expecting the Raiders to start 0-3.
Absolutely not. Are they the only team? Oh no,
no, the Raiders were the only team 0-3.
I thought the Texans.
Texans had a tie.
0-3-1.
Or 1.
No, they're
0-3-1
3-1.
or
Yeah.
0-2-1 going into this week. Now I think
Now
they
they're
lost
all
0-3-1.
yeah.
But I'd like you had a roster that made the playoffs last year, an experienced coach from the Patriots. No one was expecting the Raiders to start this slow. So, like you said, big win for the Raiders.
Yeah.
I'll get to some Raider stats for you. Derek Carr goes 21-34 for 188 yards, no touchdowns and no interceptions. So, pretty mediocre day from Carr. But the guy who stole the show, monster day, Josh Jacobs.
Woo-wee!
I know you're excited to talk about this one. I'll just give a brief overview. 28 carries, 144 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, and had a couple receptions as well. My guy Davante Adams, 9 receptions for 101 yards. But I will say, Patrick Surtain looks solid against him, the young Denver Broncos cornerback from Alabama.
See, I like this pick from you, showing it that it's your favorite of the week, because two teams that shouldn't be where they're at, they should be better. They have stacked rosters. They have good personnel. They just haven't been able to get it done.
Exactly.
And one of the teams obviously had to get it done, which is good. And I like that pick out of you.
Perfect. Yeah, I have a couple more points I want to get through. Patrick Surtain looked good. He broke up a touchdown pass in the end zone, which was exciting. He's a big physical corner. And I know you see Davante 9 for 101. Davante could have, like, 2 of those were like little screens that he had a great run after catch, some big yards from those. But Patrick Surtain looked good against him. Daniel Carlson, the Raiders kicker, 4 for 4 on field goals. He was definitely a difference maker in this game. They had the announcer say that he has yet to miss a field goal in the new stadium in Vegas.
Kept on saying it.
I think that's exciting. That's cool. Good for him.
I was waiting for him to miss it.
Every time they
put it on the stat, I was waiting for them to miss it and be like, "Oh boy, it's a problem." And then like the whole jinx thing, whenever they
right. It's always just like you're on your seat, you're waiting for it to happen.
It always works out like that.
Back to your point about the Nathaniel Hackett play calling. I had another difference, my difference maker section here for the game. Broncos just 3 for 11 on third down. So that's huge to your point, Nico.
100%.
You gotta get better at those. I think a 9-point difference in the score. Maybe there's some more. There's definitely some more factors that go into it. But 3 for 11 on third down is a huge one.
I keep seeing third downs where they're third and short, third and 3, third and 4. You can't get a run. You can't get a run block. You can't get a short, quick pass. So 3 for 11, third down just doesn't get it done. That's not a. It
doesn't get it done. It doesn't get it done.
That's not a winning football team.
It goes back to Nathaniel Hackett and some of that play calling, Russ adjusting. My final difference maker I got is Max Crosby. 2 sacks. Looked like a beast coming off the edge. Absolutely terrorized Russ all night. Just looked bigger, stronger than that Denver offensive line. I'm a big fan of Crosby.
As he should against, obviously right now a bad Denver team, as he should.
No, he looked really good. That got me hyped up. He's just a very scary defender. He's got the tattoos up and he plays with a lot of emotion, very physical. I like Max Crosby. He's one of those like old school defensive ends that we grew up with watching.
You know what I kind of see him like on the Cowboys, Van Der Esch. I kind of compare them to. Okay. I know that I don't know.
A little bit different. Vander plays more linebacker.
Well, yeah, they're not. I'm not saying like I'm not position wise. I'm saying
stature,
stature and the way he plays.
Yes,
he's
definitely.
Quick.
He's an exciting player. He had a big game, 2 sacks. Final thing I'll say about the game: Broncos are now 2-2. This is interesting. I thought short week for the Broncos. They play Thursday night against the Colts, who have looked so. Terrible. I'm not going to give you a prediction on that. I honestly, I couldn't make up my mind how I thought about that, but just something to think of. Primetime game, Broncos, Thursday, and then another primetime game the following week against the Chargers. So you're asking a team whose best running back just went down, struggling 2-2, rookie head coach, to show up for back-to-back primetime.
You don't want to give me a prediction? I'll give you mine.
Go for it.
Both losses. Both losses in that. You can't go out and, even with a struggling Colts team where Matt Ryan can't throw the ball and Jonathan Taylor seems to never have a hole, I don't see them producing any offense.
Yeah, Broncos fans, beware. That's what I wrote. Back-to-back primetime games.
The Colts back-to-back primetime games is ridiculous. That's terrible. In scheduling, that's a bad call, having the Broncos back-to-back. I guess because Ross and they were all excited.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But going against the Colts, who are a good defense, and the Chargers, who are also a good defense,
it's gonna be tough.
There's no offense.
It's gonna be tough. And then Raiders 1-3 have a Monday night game against the Chiefs, who looked absolutely unstoppable last night against the Buccaneers. But that's all I have to say for this game. Nico, let's move on to yours.
All right, we'll move on to mine. You know who we're picking this week. We got Giants, Bears, baby.
Let's go, baby.
Giants move to 3-1, tied at the top of the NL East. The NL, well, like I'm baseball. NFC East.
No, dude, Eagles are 4-0. Eagles are 4-0. I know you wanted to say that, but Eagles are 4-0, dude.
I forgot.
I know our man Cam is smiling out there right now, but Eagles are 4-0. But we're 3-1. That's huge for the Giants.
3-1 tie. All right, so tied with the Cowboys, who beat the
Commanders.
Yep. 3-1. They're obviously ahead of us with 2 conference wins.
They're calling it the NFC Beast right now.
NFC Beast. What did you do that? I like that. I like that call.
Beast.
The NFC Beast. I like that call. All right, so I got Daniel Jones going in 8 for 13, 71 yards, and 2 bootleg rushing touchdowns.
Awesome.
It's the same exact play back to back.
Yeah,
They both rushing touchdowns. It wasn't working. The Bears couldn't pick it up.
The Bears couldn't pick it up. We ran the bootleg how many times?
It was in the first half. It was a lot.
It was exclusively the bootleg in the first half.
There was a couple of sacks for a loss when they picked it up in the second half, but in the red zone, back-to-back bootleg rushing touchdowns.
Yep,
were huge.
The announcers kept saying it. Excuse me. The announcers kept saying it. Everyone on TV was thinking it. It was like, dude, they're gonna keep doing the same play. And you know what? The Bears had no answer for it in the first half. Danny Dimes, 2 rushing touchdowns. Do you know what they're calling him, Nico?
Let me hear.
Vanilla Vic.
I don't know. Are you just making these up on the spot? Dude,
this is what I'm hearing on the Twitter.
I think you're making them up.
I wish I was that creative.
I don't
Vanilla
think
Vic.
you saw that. I think that's coming out of your head.
He looked good running. Another guy who looked good running, Saquon Barkley. Get into that for us.
31 carries for 146 yards, another 100-plus yard game.
That's a career high for Saquon, 31 carries.
31 carries. They were running the ball heavy. It wasn't really working sometimes, but he broke free. And, it's not a great Bears defense. It's not a great Bears set. I think the secondary is a little bit better, but it's not a great Bears defense.
Mm-hmm.
And Giants showed you why. 31 carries for 146 yards. Jones had 2 rushing touchdowns. They couldn't stop the run. 71 yards in the air for Danny.
Not great.
Not really great. They the secondary picked up for the Bears, but rushing, they couldn't stop anything.
Yeah.
We had Graham Gano, 2 field goals. He's just electric.
Yeah.
I think he missed one this game, but
he did. He did at the very end.
You can miss one. It's fine. He's been electric all year, knocking him down. Graham's always
wet
like
conditions.
that.
It blame it on. It was rainy day in the
windy,
Meadowlands.
Cold. And then we got the Bears. Khalil Herbert, who is the number 1 running back now that David Montgomery is out. 19 carries, 77 yards. Justin Fields went 11 for 22 with 174 yards. Not ideal. Having Justin Fields, and this Bears offense, who had, I think, 70 yards combined in the first 3 games in the air, having 174 in one game. That, I didn't. A lot
of big plays over the top. I was surprised to see our corners get beat like that, because usually we play. I know we got Wink now. He plays a little bit of different style defense than what we've been used to seeing.
Yeah, a lot of blitz.
But we got beat on the blitzes. We couldn't. Justin Fields looked good breaking some tackles. We did. Dexter Lawrence connected for 2 sacks, which was awesome because he's been playing well this year. Yeah. So to finally see him get some stats to back it up looked awesome.
I think the problem is that in the past 2 games against the Cowboys and the Bears, the secondary of the Giants it's kind of apart. As much time as the quarterback gets in the pocket, as we know, the secondary loosens up and more players tend to get open the more time that pocket. That happened. We didn't get to him in time.
Yeah.
Secondary was open. A lot of long plays for 146 yards.
Our defense did not allow a touchdown. No touchdowns, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I don't think any touchdowns. That's awesome for our defense. So they bend, but they don't break. They did give up a couple shots to Darnell Mooney, but awesome overall, like goal line, red zone defense by our defense. I loved it.
Yep.
I loved it. Any other things you want to get into? There's a couple
I
more
want
things,
to talk about a couple things towards the end and in the second half. That negatives for the Giants. We have Daniel Jones with an ankle injury. Tyrod Taylor comes in, knocked out immediately on a rush.
Scary.
It was scary. On a rush to, grab that first down. He does kind of like a tuck, cracked in the head, knocked out, concussion protocol.
Yeah, that's scary. And we don't have a third string right now currently on the roster. So we had Saquon running the Wildcat.
Running out of the Wildcat with Danny on the left side as
lined
up
as wide receiver.
Because he couldn't move. He couldn't run on his ankle. So towards the end, we were able to hold on,
yeah,
and get
just
the
enough,
win.
yeah.
But it's a rough scene. We're waiting on Danny to see if he's going to even play. They called up Davis Webb.
I like Davis Webb. He was in that Buffalo offense that Dable ran, and
at this point, I don't want to see him play in London next week against the Packers, but we might not have
I know
a choice.
we want to see Danny, but we'll see what happens. We'll definitely keep following that storyline as it unfolds.
Yeah, so we have to see who's going to be the starter for week 5. We have an Evan Neal neck injury. He's the same way as Daniel Jones. We're going to have to see if they travel and if they play on Sunday in 9:30 against the Packers in London. We have Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson. They're making progress coming back.
That's going to be huge because the receivers, again, Slayton had a drop.
Wide open drop.
Oh, my goodness. That was so tough.
Obviously, everyone knows the wide receiver room in New York is thin and getting thinner.
Yeah, we really need those guys back. So
one thing that might have added to the secondary being so bad, Love is out with a concussion.
I know, and he's a team captain this year. He stepped up big time. He's been playing really well.
I agree.
So Julian Love, concussion protocol. Hopefully he's back soon. He cleared protocol and he's okay.
Yeah, I agree. You want to let's head into fantasy picks.
For sure, yeah.
You know, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm on the road to 4-0.
Awesome.
In one of my leagues.
Nice.
I'm on the road.
It must be nice.
I got to see what the Rams kicker does tonight, but I'm on the road to 4-0. Feeling great.
That's awesome.
Let me get your 3.
My 3. My first one, my first fantasy star this week, Miles Sanders. Eagles were taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Miles Sanders had himself a game, 27 carries, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, then added 2 receptions for 22 yards, good for 29.6 points in your PPR league. Have a day, Miles Sanders.
Can I cut you off for a second? We got a comment from George. Should sign the Giants. Is that the Giants? The Giants should sign Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, really? I don't know how he'd fit into. I mean, maybe he could still run a little bit. I don't know. I haven't been Cam since he was on the Patriots, right?
Cam Newton.
I don't know.
Did you see the backup for the
Patriots?
The Patriots?
Yeah, he looked good.
Zappy?
Bradley Zapp.
Love him.
Rookie.
I'm trying to get away from that comment because Cam Newton is a terrible quarterback and he should never touch the NFL field again. So I'm just going to ignore it. Keep going. Miles Sanders is a great running back.
Miles Sanders had a great day, and the Eagles came back from down 14-0, and they beat the Jaguars. Moving on, TJ Hawkinson finally showed out. I know talking to some fantasy managers in previous weeks, really frustrated because the Lions' offense has been going off, and TJ hasn't seen any touches.
They're the most scoring offense in the league.
And TJ hadn't seen any touches until this week. He goes off for 8 receptions, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 2-point conversion, baby. Let's go.
1 2-point
One 2-point conversion
for the name.
For 39.9 points. He was a game winner in a lot of leagues this week. And I know guys were like, TJ, he's let me down. TJ, go off, have a week. Hopefully he continues this. And some fantasy managers are happy they drafted
That's
him.
great. How many points did he get?
39.9 in PPR leagues.
That's pretty good. George says that can't be worse than what we got.
I mean, maybe he's got a point. Davis Webb hasn't seen an NFL field, and
neither has Cam. How long has he been at? He hasn't touched a.
It's been at least. So
is he rostered?
Mac Jones' rookie year? I think they let Cam start the first couple games. I don't think. Cam Newton's not on a roster right now. Who knows if he's been staying in shape?
I don't see a whole accusation.
Yeah.
I don't see a whole.
You think they stay in the system, practice?
They'll stay in the system, and who knows? Danny might be able to get the start this week.
That's the vibe I get to. Like you said, I don't get that really vibe from Joe Shane or Brian.
He was running on the sideline in between when he was hurt. I honestly think a little rest gets on it.
Yeah, I hope so.
He's able to play.
I saw a tweet right before we went on the air. Brian Dable said it's a sprain, but he won't say if high ankle or what kind of sprain it is. Fingers crossed that it's not too serious. More star from you.
Let me hear that.
Geno Smith. Our man Geno Smith goes 23 of 30 through the air for 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 7 carries for 49 yards. And Geno, the big man, gets a rushing touchdown as well. Good for 31.7 points.
What a performance. That's huge for the Seahawks.
I'm in a 16-man league, so guys that you wouldn't normally see starting are starting. Kid in my league had Geno Smith starting this week.
That's huge. That's
awesome for him. Shout out Aaron Pincus. I don't know if he's listening, but he started Geno Smith, and he had a day. Geno really looked good against that Lions defense. Really just didn't make a bad read, a bad pass. He was on fire. Have a day, Geno Smith.
So the comments saying J.K. Dobbins is a curse to have.
I thought J.K. put up like 20 PPR points this week.
He's saying you start him, he gives you 1 point. You bench him, he goes wild.
Yeah, no,
that's just bad.
That's how it goes.
That sounds like bad management. That's bad fantasy.
You always get a couple players like that.
Yeah, it's bad on you. That's bad fantasy management. I'm gonna go to talking about my good fantasy management. Derrick Henry. I was gonna trade him 2 weeks ago, and then he's just slowly inclining. He's got 22 carries for 114 yards, a touchdown, and for 3 receptions for 33 yards. They're throwing him the ball now.
He will catch a pass every once in a while.
They're throwing him more often. I kept seeing it. Last week he had reception yards. This week he's getting. They're just chucking him the ball now. I mean, he's an all-around player.
He is that offense. Good for Derrick Henry. It's not a great
stat. It's not a great points in the PPR leagues, 23.5. But
you'll take it.
I'll take it. He's on the upward spike, and I love it.
Oh. Is this back-to-back weeks that one of us had Derrick Henry?
Back-to-back weeks, yeah.
Yeah, because he started off slow, and good for D-Hen getting it back on track.
Sure I was criticizing him in the first 2 weeks for.
Like you said, you were about to trade him.
I was about to trade him. I was really on the edge. I'm gonna close my eyes for this one. How happy I was that I didn't sit Josh Jacobs this week because it was 4
monster game.
4 points week 1, 9 points week 2, 14 points week 3. I was like, oh, he's coming up. 34 points, 34.5 points, 28 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions, 31 yards, beating the Broncos. Josh Jacobs is a dog.
Talk about feeding him 28 carries. I mean, we were excited by Saquon's 31. You got to remember Saquon's 31. Some of those are the Wildcat plays. Mm-hmm. There's no Wildcat plays in Las Vegas. That was just
28 carries with that stacked roster that
has Devontae Adams, Darren
Waller, like
there's a lot of mouths to feed in Las Vegas.
He looked like he was running downhill the entire game. I was excited with those touchdowns.
He looked really good.
Loved it.
Find the end zone twice, just hard running.
Absolutely.
Broncos had no answer for him.
Absolutely. My last player, this is a Thursday night game. Welcome back to the roster. T. Higgins, 25.5 points, 7 receptions, 124 yards, 1 touchdown, and 9 targets. Was 7 for 9. I'm so happy. It was just, I loved it because it was like some short ones and then they'll chuck a long one.
Yep.
To them. You got short ones, right? Pick up those little points, those garbage points at the end, right? And then nice long one, rack those points in. 25 points. 25.4 points. Love to see it. Fantasy was doing good this week.
Awesome. And that's another offense that has a lot of mouths to feed. You got Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, new tight end Hayden Hurst. So for T. Higgins to get back on track, 7 receptions, 124 yards, that's awesome for the Bengals. Awesome for T. Higgins. And that team, when the offense is clicking, is really hard to stop. I mean, when they went on their run to end last season, made it all the way to the Super Bowl, it was really on the backs of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins were the three main guys there.
We got my boy Joe in here talking about Bengals look good.
They did, yeah.
They do look good. They had a rough,
slow start,
looking great
good
again,
now.
Playing great again. He also says that I should have traded him Derrick Henry. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I waited.
Last thing I'll add, I'm not proud of this, but I feel like full disclosure, I have to say it. I was offered a trade last week, Miles Sanders and a defense for Cordero. Miles Sanders goes off, and Cordell landed on the IR today. I'm in shambles. At least 4 weeks, so I'm upset about that. But good for Miles Sanders.
Like I said, and no one's listening. That's called bad management.
I could not have foreseen Cordero going down.
It, but I'm just saying, I would have taken Miles Sanders. I would have done. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Hindsight is 2020. What do we
got? He said. George goes, I would like to make a statement. Kelsey is the best value player of any player, best value of any player in fantasy. He always drops a little in drafts. He's consistent every week, and he fills the tight end slot.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Your flex wide receiver.
25 points last night, Travis Kelce. He was on the border. I had to go Hawkinson because Hawkinson had a 40 bomb, but Travis Kelce scared me last night. I was up big in fantasy. Travis Kelce first half drops 19 points. I was sweating.
I'm sitting there.
I was sweating.
You're sweating. I'm smiling. I have him on. He's my tight end. I'm smiling.
Sweating.
Big win. Big gain for him last week. I loved every second of it. 2 touchdowns or 1 touchdown?
1 touchdown last night.
1 touchdown. Long catch at the end to kind of secure the game, which was huge.
Huge. No, George, great point.
He's a certified dog.
Him and Mahomes have that connection.
You got him. You see him coming on the sideline. His jersey's ripped.
Yeah. He always has a dirty jersey. He's diving around. They run him around the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs' offense looked really good last night. Travis Kelce, if you can draft him in that 10, 11, 12 range in your drafts, I think that's always a great spot to get Kelce.
I got him. I don't know when I got him.
Year in and year out, he is just he fills that tight end spot.
No player better to draft. Been drafting this guy for a decade. I don't think he's been in the league for a decade.
No, he has. He's been around longer.
A decade?
He was there with Alex Smith. Yep. But we got to move on. I'm looking at the clock. We got some stuff to cover, some cool stuff.
Right. We want to talk about something serious for a second.
Yes.
As I want to formally apologize to all Dolphins fans about Tua. I've been talking bad. I've been putting bad juju out there, and I feel bad. Tua goes down hard.
You want me to give a little backstory?
Yeah, let's give a little backstory. Go
First
ahead.
And foremost, we hope that Tua is doing okay and he'll make a full recovery. For our listeners that don't know what happened, Tua was slammed down on Sunday. Excuse me. On Sunday, September 25th against the Bills. So this is in game 2 weeks ago. He gets slammed down. He gets up stumbling. He's looking disheveled. Looks like concussion symptoms. At halftime of that game, he was cleared to return. He returns to the game against the Bills, and the Dolphins win. And you don't really hear anything else about it. They said, it was a back injury, right? And you're like, okay, I mean, if he was cleared and he came back in the game, he's fine. Short week, the Dolphins head up to Cincinnati. On Thursday night, he slammed down again and hits his head. It was a really scary and disturbing sight. He left the game and was taken to the hospital. Since then, the independent neurotrauma consultant hired by the NFL Players Association has been fired after, quote, making several mistakes in clearing Tua for the Sunday game. So not the Thursday night game, but for him to return to the Sunday game. They're now saying that the neurotrauma consultant made several mistakes and he has been fired. And now there's an investigation. The NFL and the Players Association have both said there are some changes needed for the concussion protocol. Now, my question for you, Nico, is, did the doctor mess up? Or are there problems within? Are the problems the NFL's protocol? Hopefully this investigation gets us some answers, because there's a lot of fingers being pointed right now. Some at the Dolphins, which I think is absolutely ridiculous.
I think everyone before that, it doesn't take a neurologist to realize what happened. He's stumbling off the field. In that Sunday game, he's stumbling off the field. He couldn't even stand.
That's scary.
And you're telling me that this professional neurologist is telling him he's fine because he didn't pass because he passed the protocol. What I'm seeing here is, I don't know if it's the fault. I think the NFL is going to make sure that they make it the fault of that one doctor.
Okay.
Rather than take responsibility, because why would they do that?
Yeah.
But it's a problem if you have a player that gets. I get it, he's a star player, but he's coming wobbling off the field.
No, that's unacceptable. He's a young kid, and it's not worth it it's just not worth it to risk your brain.
Maybe the week after
for half of football.
Yeah, maybe the next week he doesn't get hit like he did on Thursday and have that injury.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a risk you take when someone obviously has a concussion. He went down, and it's nothing. It's crazy. I'm speechless. You haven't seen anything like that before.
It's scary. It was really scary.
He's got his hands all over his eyes, trying to. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a defense mechanism for the body to. It's something about it. It just didn't seem.
Yeah.
I've never seen something like that before. That's an injury that they're talking about it now. He can miss a couple of weeks, obviously, but
as long as he's okay, that's the main thing right now.
Fine,
take as much time
as they're gonna make it this doctor's fault.
Okay.
But I think it really has to do with the protocol of the.
You think it goes deep to the protocol?
Because if it passed their protocol,
yeah, that's what I'm. So when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about it critically last night. There's a lot of hate being thrown at the Dolphins and at rookie head coach Mike McDaniels. I don't see in what world does Mike McDaniels, who's in his 4th ever game as a head coach, is not going to listen to the doctors. You know what I mean? Mike McDaniels, morally, it would be so wrong of Mike McDaniels to put Tua in the game if he knew something was wrong. And also, just like to keep your job. Like that's your young star quarterback. You're not going to risk it. So I'm having trouble seeing in what world it's the Dolphins coach's faults. It's either the doctor's fault, a freak accident, or C, it's the protocol. And the protocol needs to get stricter and more.
See, I'm seeing over here, it's on the doctor to say that if he's either okay or not okay. If the doctor says he's good, then obviously if you're a coach and the doctor says
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
he's fine.
I think that's what Mike McDaniels was thinking. Okay, I got the okay from the doctor.
I don't blame Mike McDaniels for anything about that. At first, I was like, that's a little weird that he let him in. But if this professional doctor is saying so,
and he's a young coach, he's like, okay, I got the okay from the doctor. I'm gonna let this guy play. But if it does turn out that this neurotrauma consultant made mistakes, there should be some punishments handed out because that's terrible. It's so wrong. And it's also this guy's one job. He's not the trainer that's taping up ankles or fixing a sore shoulder. He is the independent neurotrauma consultant.
Means no affiliation to anyone.
No, he is being paid probably a lot of money
by the NFL to do this, and you don't want a bias from him. You don't want anything.
Exactly. Yeah, he has no interest in the game.
What's wrong with this player?
100%.
And it's very frustrating that he just goes, yeah, he's fine, and send him back in.
I don't know the whole story.
He could have been he could have got hit, and thank God he got sent home with the team on Thursday. But he could have been hit. He could have been in a much worse situation.
Yeah, just to give the listeners an update, Tua is going to be okay. He's been ruled out for this week, but apparently the last I read, he's recovering well, and he's going to make a full recovery. So thank goodness for that.
I mean, God you're lucky.
I'm very eager, Nico, to see what this investigation turns out because someone's got to be responsible for this.
I could tell you what it's going to end up at. It's going to be fully the doctor's fault.
Really?
They're going to find who's on the investigation, the NFL?
NFL Players Association, I believe.
Okay, maybe
it could be a joint investigation. Who knows? I got to look more into it.
If the Players Association is doing it, maybe they see something with the NFL protocol. But I see it more likely that they're going to find the doctor at fault rather than their own affiliated league.
Yeah. Well, the NFL, I feel like, does that in many different cases. They'll make you they'll pin it on the team or the owner rather than the NFL.
This is run by the players. The players want to feel safe. Obviously, they want to feel safe. They want to feel protected by and they fight against the NFL all the time. I mean, it's hard to say, but I feel like it's going to go towards the doctor's fault.
And we usually keep things pretty light on this show, but this is a serious topic. And you'd think that after all the research and science done into concussions in recent years, that these protocols would be pretty top notch because there's really no excuse or no reason not to have these protocols top notch and in the best interest of the players.
Absolutely. I think that
there's been countless terrible stories in the past years of these guys suffering from CTE. And
it's a big thing. It's a high contact sport, and you have to, you have these people saying that the league's getting soft. I agree in some sorts that it's getting soft with some of these penalties and stuff like that, but with penalties that have to do with head injuries, you
can't take those away.
No, absolutely not.
So I said my piece on that. I'm not excited, but I'm eager to see what this investigation tells us, and I hope Tua gets fully recovered.
Speaking of CTE, we're not going to be able to talk about it, but George brought up Antonio Brown and what happened over the weekend, but we're not going to be able to talk about it. But yeah,
loco, he's just out of his mind. I don't think we're allowed to talk about that on the Iona radio, but if you're on your own computer at home, you could look that up. That guy is just out of his mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. But let's get to a brighter note in New York sports.
He's crazy.
All right, I don't want to get too hyped up or too down on this. We got Aaron Judge, 4 games left in 3 days. We have today. Tomorrow's a doubleheader, and then Wednesday.
He's cutting it close, man. He's really cutting it close.
He went. Let me give you the stat. Since he hit 61 in Toronto at home against the Orioles, which we went to one of those games.
Yeah, we did. Friday night.
Went to the Friday night game.
But
1 for 7, 1 for 7 with 6 strikeouts since hitting his 61st in Toronto. And let's give the background. Texans. The Texas Rangers are eliminated. They're very bad.
So they're not going to intentionally walk this guy 8 times. Please tell me they're not going to intentionally walk this guy.
The Orioles were too, but they also kind of walked him too. It was just, it's very frustrating. When we were at the game that day, I don't know if you were paying attention, but it was his last at bat in the 7th or the 8th.
He was the eighth, maybe.
The eighth, the pitcher got hurt. He's stretching.
Forever. Oh,
and then he threw a ball. After 3 balls, they just intentionally walked him. They didn't even finish the at-bat. I mean, that doesn't seem competitive to me.
It's tough. And you know what I was so I think actually I saw on the Yankee Report Twitter that I follow. The first game of the series, the Orioles were technically still in playoff contention. There was still a series of things that could have happened for them to make it. Game 2, by then they were officially eliminated, and all the Yankees fans were like, okay, please stop walking this guy.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying lob up a 45-mile-an-hour curve.
No, but make it competitive. Come on, make it competitive.
Pitch him in the I don't want 4 balls that are 6 feet away from the box.
It was tough to see.
I don't want an intentional walk. We got 4 games left. That's, what is that, 17 at-bats?
Maybe, yeah. And that's if they don't even give him a day of rest or any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's 17 at-bats. He's leading the American League and in the MLB in home runs. He's leading in RBIs with 130. And now, since he went 1 for 7 with 6 strikeouts, he's in second place for batting average.
I got really excited, Nico, by that Triple Crown watch. When they started showing that graphic, I was like,
he can have a good series.
Yeah.
And Luis
Arias, I think.
Arias, he's first with 315. Judge got 311.
Okay, so he's not out of it.
He's not out of it.
When are these games, Nico? When are these games in Texas? They start tonight.
Tonight's at 7. Tomorrow's 2 and 8, and then Wednesday
doubleheader tomorrow. And he needs 1 more to set the all-time American League record.
1 to set the all-time American
I think he'll do it.
record.
I think he'll do it.
And when he hit when and if he hits that,
it was cold in New York. We got a cold front these past couple of days.
Doesn't fly as far.
Let him go down to Texas. He's gonna get it, Nico. I think he'll get it.
I really hope so, and I think that if he doesn't get the chance to do it, it's really gonna. It's not gonna sit well with it's not gonna sit well with the fans. Obviously, I don't think it's gonna sit well with the league. They want him to do it. This is huge publicity for the league, huge publicity for the team. George says that Barry Bonds got the record for him. He doesn't want to get me angry. I highly disagree with that.
You disagree with that? Sorry, 100%. I'm pulling up a meme for my next segment that I'm getting ready to talk about. Okay.
I think that
it's in the books. I think it's in the books at 73. It's 73.
You know what the problem is the asterisks. It's in the books with the asterisks next to it. He was in
It's tough. It's a tough topic.
I understand.
We don't have all day. We could have a whole show to talk about this.
I understand it was allowed during the time. We have minutes. We have a couple minutes to talk about it. He was during a time where it was allowed. Now it's not, right? And right after it was not.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to visibly cheat, obviously he was using performance enhancers. I don't think it should be counted as for the record. Just like if you go around New York or you go around a bunch of teams and a bunch of cities in the United States and ask them, do the Astros deserve that World Series?
They'll tell you no.
They'll tell you no.
Here's my thing with that. And you made a good point about it. You said it was allowed then, which on paper it was never officially allowed. But that's the thing.
They didn't test.
So when it was so exciting and Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were hitting all these home runs, nobody seemed to mind. It saved baseball. It attracted all those viewers in when Michael Jordan was taking over the NBA. The NBA was going to the moon. This was 98, 99, 2000. No one cared then. No one batted an eye. They knew it was maybe happening, and everyone just let him go and get that record, and they celebrated it, and it saved baseball, and it was huge. And now everybody's like all high and mighty.
Can I ask you something seriously?
Go ask me. Yeah, of course.
This is where really, I'm not saying this just because I'm a Yankee fan. Obviously, I wanted to have the all-time for the entire MLB. But I understand you're a Yankee fan too. I just want to say, if he's not allowed in the Hall of Fame because of what he did, why should he be allowed to hold records?
The Hall of Fame is a whole nother thing. They are all such on a high horse, Hall of Fame.
But I'm telling you, if he's not allowed, if he cheated, and everyone knows he cheated, and he wasn't allowed in the Hall of Fame, and people argue about it, why should he be allowed to hold the record?
We see it differently. I think you can be allowed to hold a record, and you don't have to be in the Hall of Fame.
He was using, and people say this, which I find ridiculous, that it doesn't help you hit the ball. He's a great player, no doubt,
for sure.
With the rest of the seasons where he wasn't using performance enhancers, he's a great player.
Mhm.
He's dropping 30, 40 home runs.
Yeah.
But this season where he has performance enhancers,
73.
73.
I know.
That's or 76, whatever it is.
73.
That's
73.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's where I find problem in it. All of them that use this,
it helps with
if
recovery, makes you stronger.
if Judge used it, how many home runs do you think he's hitting? More
75.
than
75. There was a couple on the warning track, and I was like,
I think he's upwards of 80.
I don't know.
So
but see, if that coulda, shoulda,
if that
woulda, I don't
argument
know.
doesn't convince you, I don't know what will.
I'm with George. I'm with George. I think Barry Bonds, and Judge came out and said it too. He said if it's in the books at 73, then 73 is the record. But Nico, how about this? Like, I left that argument and all that stuff. I left that in last week because you know what? I'll be so happy as a Yankee fan for Judge to get the American League record.
And
you know what? I think it means more. You see the Maris family at the games.
I think people
franchise record
after, are gonna continue to argue about it, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. I guess we're gonna have to see what happens and if he hits it.
I hope he does, and I'll be happy. I won't even be thinking about Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, those guys. I'll just be happy we have a new franchise record for home runs for the Yankees that we got to see, and it's the all-time American League
as of
record.
right now. His contract, obviously, he's gonna test free agency, but whatever.
Man, that's scary.
I hope
I'm sweating
when that ball makes contact to the bat before it gets over the wall. His contract better be signed.
Blank check. Just give it to him whatever he wants.
Give it to him. I don't care what it is.
He bet on himself, and what a win for Aaron Judge. Awesome.
I don't care what it is. He hits that ball. Give it to him. I don't care. As much money as he wants, you hand it to him. Anyways, let's get into some Mets.
Sorry, I was going to play this. Well, I got an ad. But all the Mets had to do, Nico, was not get swept. That's all they had to do. With Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, all the Mets had to do was not get swept by the Braves to hold the tiebreaker and win the division or have a chance at winning the division. And they got swept.
I love it.
It just came to my head. I'm sorry.
They got swept.
Oh my
by their
goodness.
Division rivals.
And I know the Braves are good. It's not like it was the worst team in baseball. The Braves are a great team, defending World Series champions.
And they're roster wise, they're a better team than the Mets. They play great ball.
But all the Mets had to do was not get swept with their two best pitchers, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, Cy Young winners.
I want to get into that. DeGrom they have their two best pitchers. DeGrom comes up. They need to not get swept.
They just need to win one.
They need to win one game, and then they have the tiebreaker.
Exactly.
And then they should be okay. They get swept. DeGrom loses first game 5-2. Scherzer loses second game 4-2, and then I forgot what they lose yesterday. But they get swept, and now if the Braves get one win,
they win the division.
Or the Mets lose one game, the Braves win the division, move on, and get the bye.
Can you pull up the playoff picture you were showing me?
I have it.
Yeah, you have it up. Okay.
The Mets are going to have to play the Padres.
Good luck.
Because they got ex-nationals on that team, like Juan Soto, who love beating
there's
the Mets.
one more, Josh Bell, I believe, right? Josh Bell. They love beating the Mets. Oh my goodness. I thought that was so funny. We had to share that. The Mets fans out there are probably so heated in the comments.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
I don't even.
Oh my God, Mets fans are so heated. It was all over the radio today. The Mets. Oh my God.
They play the Padres best of 3 obviously if they don't clinch.
So that's a big thing to note. The MLB changed.
Dodgers.
The MLB changed the playoffs though.
Yeah.
So it's no longer that one single game. They're gonna get a best of 3.
Yeah.
But for a team that's gonna get 100 wins, and people were like, they spent so much money this offseason. They came out with this whole roster. Scherzer. They're paying Scherzer so much money. If I read it out loud to our listeners, some of them wouldn't even believe how much money Max Scherzer is getting paid.
Can I put this in your head? If they lose the division, right? They play the Padres and lose. Even if they beat
only the Mets,
they got to play the Dodgers. They have to play the Dodgers after that. Dodgers, best team in baseball,
114 wins.
Best National League baseball team in a long, long time.
First team to get 114 wins since 2001 Seattle Mariners.
Yeah,
insanely talented Dodgers team that is showing no signs of slowing down.
Yeah, I mean they're crazy.
And all the Mets all they had to do was get one.
Get one. If they lose this and they get knocked out of the playoffs, imagine that. Imagine they get knocked out of the playoffs and then DeGrom goes somewhere else.
Is his contract
up?
Done.
Oh. And apparently wants to get out.
Really?
Sources say he wants to get out.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wants to go.
I know they have Scherzer locked up, I think, for 2 more years.
Scherzer's locked up, but DeGrom, apparently he wants to go. I don't know if they're going to pay him.
Interesting. Well, they have a lot of guys on that payroll. They got to be up there as top 3 in baseball.
The same old Mets. You hear someone say that?
Yeah, only the Mets, man. It was funny. If you're out there in the comments and you're a Mets fan, you're hating on us, like whatever. Like it's comedy. It's funny.
It's funny. If you're a Mets fan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, Edwin Diaz is a free agent as well at the end of the season.
Huge closer, arguably the best closer. Trumpets. Arguably the best closer in
right now.
Baseball.
Yeah, as of right now, he's the best. He's the best closer.
We'll see what happens. But I never really liked Buck Showalter either. He was with the Orioles for a long time. The Yankees used to beat him up, and I know he was with the Yankees for a little bit.
We could talk about,
but I never really liked Buck Showalter.
We have to move on.
Okay,
we're running out.
We do have one more segment that we want to get to.
One more segment. We got to always finish up with the Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Nico, you wrote this one. You did a great job. Why don't you get us into this?
All right, so let's get into Monday Night Football. Tonight we have the Rams versus the 49ers. Rams. We got the passing leaders for this game. Stafford is 74 for 102, 761 yards, 4 touchdowns, and this is my problem here with Stafford. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
People forget Matt Stafford led the NFL last year in interceptions.
He won the Super Bowl, but
he does
have a tendency to throw those interceptions.
And a good point, I really like you made this. The 49ers won both regular season meetings last year. They know how they have a recipe somewhere in there. Kyle Shanahan, good coach.
When it mattered, I guess. I guess the Rams were going in hot.
Yeah.
When it mattered, they lost to the Rams in the
fair enough.
In the conference championship. But I mean, we have to see. This is a whole new team. Obviously,
definitely.
Garoppolo's in with the Niners because Trey Lance is out for the year with a broken foot.
Garoppolo didn't look too good last week.
Garoppolo is 31 for 50, 365 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Darrell Henderson is a leader for the Rams, 27 carries, 111 yards, a touchdown. None of this really, like they're
looks like a defending Super Bowl roster.
Yeah,
right?
None of this really is taking me back. I don't think either of these teams are strong. Like I get it, you got Brandon Ayuk and Cooper Kupp. Those are great receivers, but I just don't see the production on any.
So right now, Brandon Ayuk is the leading receiver for the 49ers over Debo.
Yeah, over Debo.
Wow.
10 receptions, 142 yards. 10 receptions and 1 touchdown.
Interesting.
And then we got here that George Kittle, we look for him to make something happen. He returned last week after missing the first 2 weeks of the season. He had 4 receptions and 28 yards.
And usually him and Jimmy G have a good chemistry, but really the offense is kind of flat this week. Trent Williams, the all-pro left tackle for the 49ers, he's out for a couple weeks. That's a big thing to note. He is a wreck.
And that's where
best left tackle in football.
That's where that's my key factor. Okay. See, the Rams are 2-1. The 49ers are 1-2.
NFC West, big game.
A huge game for them. I have this in big bolds, and I want to exclaim it as best I can. Defense, defense, defense. Both these teams have stellar defenses.
Yes, yep.
The Rams, Aaron Donald, and Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner's old player, obviously, but he was
a vet.
He's a vet, part of the Legion of Doom. They both have 2 sacks, and Jalen Ramsey has an interception. But on the 49ers, it's less spread out than the Rams are. We got Nick Bosa has 4 sacks.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He's so
monster.
Good. And he
keeps that up. He could be defensive player
I
of the year.
think tonight we have a low-scoring game where defense is key. These are great defenses, and I think that they could really take advantage of, either team right on the offensive side. But I really hope that. Obviously people want to see big scoring, big offensive games, but I don't see it as that.
Last week, what night was it that the 49ers had a primetime game against was that a Monday night game or a Sunday night game? 49ers Broncos. It was 11-10.
It was Monday night.
That was a Monday night game?
I think it was Monday night.
Yeah, those defenses really took over that game. The 49ers defense looked good. I like your points on that. I think tonight will be another defensive battle.
Absolutely.
It'll come down to those receivers you pointed out, Ayuk or Samuel or Kittle for 49ers. Can one of them make a play? Jimmy G didn't really look like he had that deep ball touch yet. Maybe, though, he's getting back in the starting role.
He's probably getting into the swing of everything.
So you need one of those superstars for San Francisco to make a play, or is it going to be Cooper Kupp? maybe Cam Akers or a guy you pointed out, Darrell Henderson.
As we know, the Rams could obviously step into gear and have a great offensive game.
They could turn it on.
They can 100% turn it on. They have
But you're leaning towards defensive battle.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards a defensive battle. I think the score is going to be 14-10.
14-10?
14-10.
I'm thinking a little higher. I'm going 21-17 Rams.
So we got both.
I think it'll be a close game, fourth quarter, similar to the Super Bowl. Rams, fourth quarter, go to your guy Cooper Kupp, go to your guy Allen Robinson, Stafford, be sharp, make good decisions, and the Rams pull it out. But the 49ers always battle them. It'll be a good game. It'll be a good game.
The 49ers are a weird team. I like they were experimenting with Trey Lance, but they're back to Jimmy G. They're back to who they were
back
going
to their
with
roots. Yep.
They're back. He could have a great game. They could have a great game running. They do have a good run team. You never know, but we both got the Rams winning.
Both got the Rams, yeah.
And a semi lackluster offensive game. Correct?
Got it. Yeah, sounds good. This was a really good week. This was a lot of good notes, a lot of good things to discuss. I hope our listeners out there enjoyed it. Shifted a little bit from the usual script with, some baseball talk, some Tua talk, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed talking about some major storylines of the week with you. Thought we both had some really good takes on that. I appreciate anyone who commented.
Thank you, everyone, for who's here. We got 6 people here as of the moment.
Awesome.
We're running for about 50 minutes. I think we can call it, right?
Yeah, I covered everything. You have anything else you want to add this week?
I just hope that Judge hits
62.
Yeah. I hope that. I hope the Mets don't make it and either they lose or the Braves win. Again, very biased on this part. Giants next week in London. We're not going to be able to talk about it until obviously Monday.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it. Love a London
Giants
game.
Packers. Hopefully the Giants, fingers crossed, they could get healthy.
It's early, 9:30. Are you gonna be able to watch it?
The Patriots hung with the Packers yesterday. It showed some weaknesses. Hopefully the Giants are watching that film right now and picking up some ideas.
Winky's looking at it.
I hope so.
How do you feel about London?
I don't love all the injuries we had this week. While we were able to squeak out the win against the Bears, at what cost? A lot of players got banged up. Leonard Williams, I don't think he's back yet next week.
He might be. They were saying he was, looking to come back.
It's a lot.
Come back, but who knows? We have to see. It's an early game, 9:30. You never know what it's going to be like, but I have some hope. I think there's a possibility the Giants can win. George said that the Giants are going to the Super Bowl, and London games are no good.
London games 9:30. I think
a London game's fine. No home team, which is coming up Sunday, is beneficial to the Giants.
Yeah,
because
it would have been an away game. Yeah,
having Rodgers not at home is always better.
Huge. Yeah, it's definitely tough to play in Lambeau.
Yeah,
but I'm excited for that game. I'm excited.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for everyone listening.
Let us know if you want us to change our name.
2-point conversion.
It's all right. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for everyone for staying there. George, thanks for commenting. Joe, and thank you all. Max, thank you all for commenting. We'll see you guys next
Monday. Yeah.
Monday. See you guys.